And you're watching Roots TV Nigeria. In this special, we're going to be focusing on the news that Innoson Nigeria Limited has taken over GT Bank. First of all, is that even possible? What does that mean to GT Bank customers and GT as a bank? These are the things we are discussing right here on the show. My name is Gloria Oje Emode, and to have this conversation is Kola Alakmidi. He is a legal practitioner with expertise in corporate law. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's exactly understand what has happened. Can an individual or a business take over a bank?
The simple answer is no, they can't.
So what have we been reporting over the past few days?
They've been reporting a misnomer, as always in the media, when words get bandied around and all that. They just report it sensationally. You and I know that if it's very plain, it's not going to sell.
Okay, so give us a history. What exactly happened between GT Bank and Innoson?
Simple. Mr. A borrowed money from Mr. B, got a loan, and
Innoson got a loan from GT?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to presume that's the position, because the bank is lending.
Okay.
So they, Innoson says we finished paying, and the bank was still making deductions. And this sometimes happens, routinely. You need to get someone to examine your books to be able to know what's really going on, because everything is also couched in layers and layers of deductions and taxes and payments.
A lot of Nigerians are used to that.
Yes, so you might not, if you don't examine it, you might even have overpaid and you wouldn't know. So they checked and they found that they've been charged to, I think, like 100 million or so, thereabouts. So they wrote to the bank and said, hey, we've actually finished paying and we're still being charged. Would you like to give us back our money with interest at the same rate which you loaned us this money? And that was where the fiasco started. GT didn't play ball. Matter went to the trial court, from the trial court to the Court of Appeal, then to the Supreme Court. At the point when Innoson got judgment, pending when you go on appeal and all that, you can execute, especially there's a proceeding called a garnishee proceeding.
What is that?
I'll explain. Okay, so I loan you money.
Okay.
And you refuse to pay back, or the debt has gone bad. Then you go to the courts and say, hey, he owes me money. He has refused to pay. I want my money back. And then, very importantly, the bank has to agree with your argument and give you judgment. That is the first step.
That's the court?
Yes.
Okay.
The court has to agree to your story and give you judgment. That is your starting point. When you get the judgment, you now tell this person, hey, where's my money again? Because everything in legal procedure is very clinical. One little step out of the way and the whole proceeding is a nullity, no matter how beautiful you've conducted it. Okay, wow. From service is key. From letting the other person, you can't go and get a judgment behind your back in the first place. From letting them know, bringing, the case will be mentioned. When you say mentioned, it comes up in court. It's like you're making a proclamation in the village square.
Yes.
So it comes up in court, they mention it, you go away, you don't say anything. The whole idea of the mention is so that the news can reverberate. Hey, we had your name in court. Are you sure that you know? Then the matter comes for hearing. And then everybody states their case. And when the court now looks at the evidence before them and gives judgment, that is the starting point. Now, if the debtor, that's the person owing, has refused to pay, you're not just going to go like what you say, oh, Innoson took over this. It's not an illegal action. You're going to go back to the courts again. Either the same court that gave you judgment or another court that has the jurisdiction to hear and say, hey, I have a judgment. He owes me money. He's refused to pay. But I know, very, very importantly, and that's why it's called a garnishee. It comes from a French word. It's like when you put a plate and then you
garnishing. Ooh, that's interesting.
That's how it comes up, and it says, hey, I know that he has assets in this place. He has money in this bank. He has this building. He has that. So there are various ways which you can
get your money back.
Seize assets. There's what they call an interim seizure. There is a writ of fifer, which is what they use. Some pronounce writ of fife, and then there's garnishee proceedings. So the garnishee proceedings was what started. Yes, initially.
Okay.
So they go there and say, we know he has money here. So you're going to go and bring the third. So you're bringing a third party who was not part of the initial trial. You remember the first one was Innoson versus GTB.
Exactly.
So you're going to bring a third party who has no issue, is not part of that, and say, hey. So for instance, the usual one is to write to all the banks in Nigeria, about 20 banks, under a court order, compelling them to disclose with an affidavit. An affidavit is a statement you made on oath. You can be jailed if you lie. Bank directors, your arrest can be ordered. So what you come there and say, he has money, he doesn't have money, then everybody starts ticking it off. When you bring those banks, you also have to let the debtor know that I'm going to write all the banks and I'm going to bring them. The whole idea is that everybody's involved. There's a right to fair hearing. You're not just taking steps behind their back. So usually they're kept in, so GT will have known because they will have been kept in the picture. So when everyone now comes, all the 20 banks, this one says he has money, or he doesn't have money, or he has only 1,000 naira with me, and if the 1,000 is marginal, you discharge them. You go after follow the money. That's the law. That's the maxim in these circles, financial circles. So you follow the money trail. Once you get what you want, that's all. You might get it from one bank. You might have to garnish it like 6 banks.
So why is Innoson shutting down GT Bank branches?
Innocent is not shutting down GT Bank.
Or sealing it off?
Yeah, because what they got was a writ of FIFA. The writ of FIFA is a seizure of assets. You're going to get as many buildings or as many cars, as many landed properties that equals the judgment sum.
So they're sealing the GT Bank buildings?
Yes,
and
not the operations of the bank.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting, because a lot of people have been reporting that GT Bank has been sealed up.
Except for nuisance value. You see, this is very strategic. Innoson is based in the East. All right? So you can see that most of the banks they're targeting were in the East.
Yeah.
What is the use if you go and seal down the head office? You cripple everything. The bank is not able to work. You are not even able to go after the bank properly. You muzzle them. They're not able to speak. You stop them from having strategic meetings and all that. No. So what they're doing is like a game of chess or draft. So you go after the foot soldiers first, the less important buildings, but they are worth something, and it's close to your jurisdiction. You have the influence. You have the police. Because as I told you, there's a code to that. You have all these things in place. You go to your sphere of influence first.
And if you don't get your money, then you begin to expand.
But they're going to get the money because they're getting, what they're doing is that they're seizing buildings in the jurisdiction where Innoson actually probably works. Yeah. In the sphere of innocence, in the sphere of influence of Innoson, where people know the story, where people are going to have sympathy for them. Because they almost try to
where people could even be afraid and start pulling out their money. So for that reason, for GT Bank to save its plight, its customer base and all of that, they're going to pay off Innoson so he can go away and they can continue with their business. They will pay.
Except there's a court order.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. GT Bank is saying that they're going to continue, following the legal process to this. So what are the other cards on the table that GT has to
that's a welcome development for people to follow legal procedure. Well, I mean, any society that doesn't follow legal process.
I understand, but you'd have thought because Supreme Court has given this order, it should be over and done with. Pay him and let him move on. Why are you still taking? Why is it still dragging on? Why is GT Bank still?
But what they said was that they were going to take legal counsel. So let's wait for the outcome of that.
So not necessarily, they didn't exactly say they won't pay, but they're saying
let them take legal counsel. There's a court judgment, as I said. The buildings are being seized. Seizure being the operational word, not closure, not the close of GT Bank as a business.
But the buildings in which GT Bank is situated
until they get 8.8 billion. Because you remember the judgment sum was like 2.2 billion or something?
2.4, but then the interest accrued to it.
22% interest.
That accrued over the years.
And they accrued because they were all in court. They kept on going to court and then, and that's the whole idea when you ask for interest in court. So you can imagine if Innoson is being paid 2.2 billion. 2.2 billion in 2004, 2011 is not the same as 2.2 billion now.
Yeah, so obviously he needs to get the exact value of what it was that was taken. Or close to it. Okay, so how do you see this playing out as a matter of fact? Okay, you're saying, okay, what about the customers? Are they affected at all?
No, not at all.
Not bothered?
Maybe in those banks which were shut down, proximity to where those customers are.
In terms of transactions?
Of course.
Daily transactions.
Transactions, proximity, the rippling effect. You must know that businesses always have a cascading effect and everything. True. Taxis, taking passengers to those banks, food vendors around, this, that. So all that dries up because
What about GT losing money? Because obviously, if your facilities have been sealed up, not everybody does, online transactions.
GT is going to lose money.
I know.
There's no way they're going to avoid it because they're paying 8 point something billion.
No, I'm not even talking about that money. I'm talking about daily transactions and what it will, the effect of the fact that their buildings were sealed off in the southeast.
It's well, there's nuisance value. It's embarrassing. It's like two couples fighting at work. I mean, there's nuisance value. I mean, you leave home, you go to work, and then your wife comes and start pulling your tie in front of everybody.
So it's embarrassing, exactly.
It's just nuisance value. It doesn't necessarily mean that the marriage will collapse.
Exactly. Okay. So why is this such big news? Because you have looked at it and you are saying, you know what? It's just big elephants fighting. They'll settle themselves. The grass won't suffer that much.
News?
Why is this such huge news?
Because the simple truth is, you don't often see a business shutting down buildings of a bank. We're used to NDIC taking over banks. You understand what I'm saying? But here is a private individual who's looked, stared them in the face and say, hey, I'm not going to back down, no matter who sucks is God. So that's the novelty. That if you have the law on your side,
it's basically saying that the law actually does work.
Yes, if you follow. Nigeria has beautiful laws. Fantastic laws. Our problem has always been enforcement.
Enforcement of these laws. So kudos to his counsel, actually, Innocent counsel, and for him being, so patient over the years and seeking this over. Because at some point it became even embarrassing.
Yeah, the man was even attacked.
Yes, the man was even attacked. So it's victory for him.
I had to say very narrowly. It was very high profile.
I know, because I was in the southeast when all of that was a big issue. So for some people, they're saying the hunted becomes the hunter now. I mean, nobody really saw him getting that kind of.
The wheels of justice, of the machinery of justice, might grind slowly, but they surely grind.
A big thank you to you, Kola Alepini, for taking our time to talk to us and really explain this, because the truth is, this news has been reported in so many facets, but a lot of Nigerians couldn't really understand. Couldn't really understand what that meant at the end of the day. So thank you for giving us clarity on that. You can give us your comments on the comment section of this video, and let's hear your thoughts on this story. You're still watching Roots TV Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oji Emode.